Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello and welcome to Game Over Winnipeg. My name is Brendan Labarre, and the Winnipeg Jets lost to the New York Islanders by a score of 3-2. Hello Terry, how is it going today? Thank you so much for joining us again, and anyone else who joined us here. Wait a minute, I am a silly goose. Forgot to select this. Boom, we're good to go. Okay. So yeah, they lost. They didn't do the thing where they scored more goals than the other team. Just not the greatest game I've seen out of the Winnipeg Jets. We're gonna do some similar stuff. By the way, Terry, how's it going? We're gonna do some stuff. We're gonna talk about. I'm gonna kind of structure the show differently. Usually, I like to talk about in the first period. I like to kind of go through the game. I'm just gonna kind of skip past that and do some more overarching things because, yeah, I usually do that for the podcast listeners, but we'll see. Along with then we'll go into the second period. I want to talk about more like overarching themes like we usually do. Third period, like it's trade deadline week. We're talking about like since the Winnipeg Jets haven't made a trade yet, we'll talk about like the trades they made last year, some of the trades that went on today, some of the signings. The Jake Evans thing is pretty big to their plans. And before we get into that, let's do our highlight and low light. This is where we talk about which Winnipeg Jet had a good game or had like a really great game, which Winnipeg Jet had some more to give. And I think when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets today, it wasn't their best effort. It wasn't a lot going. I'm just going to say Nikolai Ehlers. Nikolai Ehlers had a pretty Jekyll and Hyde game out there. Some really good moments, and some other times where it just seems like he turned over the puck a couple times, but he did score the goal, and I'm just going to give it to him because I don't know who else to give it to. And that's my boy, and maybe my gracious gift of the highlight of the game will persuade him to stay. This lone podcaster can tell this $6 million a year hockey player that he should stay as a part of the Winnipeg Jets. All right, and for our low light of the game, I'm going with Scott Arniel. Scott, the team's not scoring. You haven't made a line change in like what month is it? It's March. In 7 months, 6 months. What's the money for? We can't figure out our ways to at even strength. Just had nothing really going. There's a few times, and just things seem stale, and it's frustrating when things go stale for this team. Just nothing really seems to happen for these gentlemen. All right, and so with that, we'll go into our first period. And so shift into hyperdrive and get ready to have some fun with your new source for all the biggest stories in hockey. Bring a unique style of broadcasting. And commenting with a Quebecois flavor. Hyperdrive Hockey combines top-tier hockey analysis, big stories, pop culture, and a damn fun atmosphere that will drive debate, make you think, and more. Join Max, Daphne, and Kevin every Tuesday and Friday for your fill-in on the hockey world. Watch on YouTube, the Game Over Network channel, or subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. Head over to our website for more. Those of you who are watching, I know you can find a hockey podcast. You're going to be quite fine in that regard. All right, and so with that, let's talk about some of the things in the game. The Jets came out. I thought they were, they came out pretty good off the first bit here. I thought, once again, Logan Stanley came out and had a really nice start to the game. He came out flying, making some plays. He kept on attacking in the offensive zone, which if you look back at his kind of junior career, kind of what was expected out of him, maybe not what was expected, but like scouting reports, things he did well. I always thought that he was a little bit better of an offensive guy than a defensive guy, and I don't think that's a compliment to his offensive game, but like you could see it kind of in flashes in the beginning tonight. Just some real nice passes. It kind of trailed off towards the end of the game, but I thought he had a really great start for the Winnipeg Jets. And then you had the Lee and Lowry fight. And I think there's been lots of that lately. A lot of like, especially for a guy like Anders Lee, who's trying to get his team into the playoffs. And with that, he's kind of trying to drive some emotion, pick some stuff out of him. Same with kind of Nick Delorier on Saturday when he fought Logan Stanley. We're going to be seeing a lot more. I think a lot more of this down the stretch. You had with kind of people wanting to kind of drive that emotion when facing the best team in the league. And I think we're going to see more of that on Thursday night when the Jets play the Flyers once again in their own barn. And the Flyers have a lot of guys who can kind of tilt. They got Deloria, obviously, but just a lot of SOBs on that roster there. And then with that, what else do we have? Lots of that lately, yeah, for sure. And then I think something you got to worry about, I think the Jets kind of played pretty sloppy tonight. If we want to talk about some overarching like things on why the Jets lost, I think just some missed assignments on certain plays, some kind of things that weren't going the way they wanted them to. That was really kind of evident on their lack of sharpness almost was evident on that first goal. You had that the first goal on the penalty kill where Alex Iafallo and I forget who the other, I think it was Rasmus Kapari, and they were both kind of, the puck was moving, it was moving pretty fast around with the Islanders, and at one point they kind of had a lack of communication. They both attacked the same guy, and since they both attacked the same guy, it really opened up the seams for Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri to make that backdoor pass, make that last play. And I think that with that kind of attention to detail, you really notice that that's something that we've talked about with the Winnipeg Jets a lot. In when they are successful on the power play, they're making those passes, making those tic-tac-toes, and they are creating that confusion. And that's something the Islanders were able to do against the Winnipeg Jets on that play. And then still with what the Islanders did really well tonight, they were super good along the boards, and they're super effective on the forecheck. And one thing they did really super well was, I'm not the biggest proponent of this, but they went 3 forwards deep all the time. It wasn't uncommon for them tonight it was common for them tonight. I'm trying to stop using double negatives when I speak. It was common for them tonight to have 3 forwards just below the goal line. They were attacking, and you really noticed that they would then use the 3 attackers down low to bring the puck high and make a scoring chance out of it. You saw it on the Pulak goal. That's exactly what happened. The 3 guys went down, attacked Logan Stanley, couldn't get the puck, and they were able to just bank it up to their defenseman, who was able to blast it into the net. And then you had just a few other segments where they were able to have it come low to high. There was, at the end of the second, that great save by Hellbuck, but that was a low pass from Casey Cizikas up to Fleshing, whatever, number 20. I remember I was going at number 20 and had that super good chance. He had to have Connor Hellbuck kind of bail him out on that. Connor Hellbuck had to kind of bail the Jets out on that one. And that was something they were just able to do super consistently, able to attack the Winnipeg Jets defense, able to keep it down low, 200 feet away from their goalie. And then the Winnipeg Jets would be forced to go down low, open up their defense, and it was just kind of this low to high attack, and they were tipping pucks all day long. It's one thing to kind of keep it down low and to keep the just keep the puck away and hold it, but it's another thing to use that as a way to attack. And the Islanders were extremely good at being on the attack. They're extremely good at moving the puck in that way, and it was something that caused the Jets a lot of confusion, running around their own zone, and it was just really effective, I'd say. Last thing before we get into the second period is the Rasmus Kupari injury. I didn't see him come back after he kind of got tailed off the ice. It looked really messed up on his right knee there. But I think with that, we're about to talk about the trade deadline a little bit more later in the show. But just with the way like Rasmus Kupari's played this season, really effective player on this team with his speed. And I really hope that the Winnipeg Jets don't take the lesson here that they need a 4th line center because of this injury. And hopefully he's able to come back too. That's another thing we got to say. But I think, David Gustafsson, super capable guy. I think him and Rasmus Kupari in the same ilk. But I think the best way to replace Rasmus Kupari is to get an actual 2nd line center and then move Nemestikov down into that role and just kind of create that extra, not layer, but that extra kind of just offensive push that I think they need. And yeah, that sounds good. We'll kind of get into the second period now. So if you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, if you have a few bucks kicking around, you can head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/thegameover network. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different awards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive look behind the cameras, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to spare a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app and share our work on your social media of choice. That's a long read. That's patreon.com/the Game Over Network for tantalizing goodies. All right. So second period. The Jets can't score. They can't score. And this is going back to like them coming back for the Four Nations face-off. They've lost it and they're passive. They aren't able to score at 5-on-5. They weren't able to score on the power play. They got 2 tonight. One was a lucky shot off a foot, which we can count that. We'll just say, you know, that's all in the same. And then they got a nice skilled play from Nikolai Ehlers. But the Winnipeg Jets lately are extremely bad goal scorers. And it's just really unfortunate to see because they are like one of the better goal scoring teams in the National Hockey League, just in terms of how many goals they've scored. A few ways they can fix this. Number one, the Winnipeg Jets play they're gaslighters, okay? They keep telling us the Jets need a second line center. They need a second line center. They need a second line center. But look at the ice time. In terms of the ice time, they have the Adam Lowry line, usually the second most amount of ice time out of all 4 forward lines. And that's just a player who, that line, they're not out there to score goals. And they just don't have that ability, I think. And I think maybe if you exchange the right wingers on there, added someone with a little bit more pop, you might be able to get some more goal scoring out of them. But the way that is constructed, they just are unable to do it. And just with how much time that line makes up, it kind of takes away from the offense, especially when this happens every single year. They come out of the gates flying, scoring goals. Mason Appleton usually has a bunch of points to start the year, completely dries out towards the end, the middle and end of the season. And then same with that, the fourth line is also not really a line that can score. Rasmus Kapari had a few shots tonight. That guy couldn't hit. That guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. He can't. His shot, it just misses. It goes 20 feet wide every time. I don't know what to tell you. And then just some things where they seem like they're always trying to make that extra pass, the extra one when they're just not getting shots on net, and it's just leading to just some missed opportunities, because if you shoot the puck, you always have a chance to score, and it's just not happening for this time. I think the first line and third line are people who kind of are unable to kind of get past that. And with with the first line, it just seems like that's gone stale. And I think with the second line as well, they just have a guy like Nemestikov. That guy is just a guy who he's not quite the most, like, he's not always the best shooter. He's not always willing to shoot, and that is something you could see the Jets saw. Yeah, I completely agree, Terry. You could see the Jets slide 5 games ago. I'm not sure quite how that lines up, but if you think about that San Jose Sharks game, they weren't quite out there. They weren't quite giving the most effort that they could, and I think it's just kind of catching up with them now, where Connor Hellebuck is playing fine. He's playing absolutely okay. The Winnipeg Jets are not scoring for him. It's like every game they have the goal. It's like they always think Eric Comrie's in net. You know, they're simply not scoring goals. On the power play, they moved a little bit more tonight, which I really liked, but they're just not moving the puck fast enough. They gotta keep up the pace. They scored, and I think one thing that they're doing is they've looked at their power play and they've seen what makes it so special. I think that there's some real big purpose things going on. And I think what they're trying to do a little bit is make it even more fluent, because teams are going to be scouting you a little harder in the playoffs. Because I think they're giving Kyle Connor the puck a lot more. I think they're giving him a lot more playmaking responsibilities right now, so that when it comes time for the playoffs, they can kind of go attack from each side. And I think that's smart, but it's really costing them some points right now. But I mean, they didn't score an even strength goal, so I guess it didn't cost them any points. And I think with that, we just got to say that things are kind of stale in Winnipeg right now. And I think either a trade, shaking up the lines, please shake up the lines, because we've seen this type of stuff before here in Winnipeg. We've seen the Winnipeg Jets come out flying out of a season, get to about January, February, and then just start falling off. I think the most famous one of the Winnipeg Jets fall-offs was the 2019 season. And in the 2019 season, they came out flying. It was the exact same team as the 2018 season. They lost, Paul Stastny, coming out of that playoff series. They lost Steve Mason and Armia, but the whole core was still intact. It was everyone else who made the team who it was. And they just, something fell apart. It was more like dressing room stuff, it seems like, now that we have a few years out, but they really fell apart. And they really did a tailspin to end the season. The next year, 2020, that's when they lost all their defensemen, and they didn't have a year ago. That was the Cody Eakin trade deadline acquisition year. We'll just try and forget that one. And then in the 2021, they were in the playoffs. They were ready to go. They were first in their division. This was the Canada division season. They were in first so long a season, first, completely fell off later on, and I don't even think they got home ice advantage in their first playoff series against the Edmonton Oilers. And then in 2022, that was the trading away Andrew Kopp year. That was the Dave Lowry year. Again, that's another one we'll try to forget. And then the year they lost to Vegas was one where they weren't high up in the standings. And then in 2024, last year, they were in first, very much like this year for so long. And then by the time that they got to the February, they were trying to fight for home ice. They were in a fight for home ice, and it was to the point where they were trying to get Rutger McGorty in the lineup. And I'm not saying we want Rutger McGorty, because it seems like they are doing a better job without him and have Braden Yeager. Braden Yeager looks like kind of like the better prospect right now. Did anyone see Rutger McGorty get beat up the other night? Side note. But they were trying to, Rutger McGorty just was like, hey, I just want a few games in the lineup. They're like, no, absolutely not. We can't put you in a fourth line role because we need to win every game, because we need home ice advantage, which makes sense. But at the same time, it's like you wouldn't be in this position if you didn't have this fall off. And so I think, just as Winnipeg Jets fans, we've seen this film before where they come out going, and we just and they, oh my gosh, I'm losing all my words right now. It just seems like, they just fall off later. Terry, my man, says lots of fighting behind the scenes. I think that you're talking about 2019. That's definitely what it felt like, what it was back then. They had to bring in Matt Hendricks a few times to trade for him to make sure the babysitter was there for everybody. And speaking of home ice advantage, it's never helped the Jets out. Let's think about this. Okay. When have the Winnipeg Jets had home ice advantage? Let's go. I got it all up here. Okay. The first playoff series was the Anaheim Ducks series. Didn't have home ice, lost every game. And then the second year, Terry's onto something. Okay. Because they destroyed the Minnesota Wild in 2018 first round. The second series was against Nashville. And when they were playing Nashville, they were tied 2-2 going in. They won, but they were the away team because they were second. Nashville's first in the league. And then they won Game 5. They went to Game 6. I was at Game 6. One of the worst hockey games I've ever seen. They got scored on early, fell into the trap, and then they won Game 7 on the road. Had home ice in round 3 against Vegas, got destroyed. Then the next time, 2019, they had home ice against the Blues, lost that in 6 games. 2020, that was a bubble year. 2021, no fans in the stands. We're not even going to count that, but I don't believe they had home ice advantage. 2022, they didn't make the playoffs. 2023 was Vegas. They did not have home ice, but they just got destroyed. And then last year they had home ice and they got just wrecked by the Colorado Avalanche. So I don't think home ice has helped them when they've had their biggest moments, like winning on the road in the Nashville series. I would agree with that, Terry. I think that's a good point. All right, third period. Let's go into some trade deadline stuff because I feel like some moves are on the horizon here. And if you're enjoying the show so far, you probably want more of this, right? Well, make sure you hit the like button on this video, click subscribe on our channel, and make sure you check the notification bell so you're alerted when we go live. If you're listening to our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating or even a positive review. If you really like us, make sure to follow us on your favorite social networks at the Game Over Network. They always retweet the stuff when the hosts are going live. And yeah, just a quick and easy way to help the channel is just to like and subscribe down below. So, third period, let's talk about some trade deadline stuff. Some minor things. One player the Winnipeg Jets weren't noted to be looking at was Jake Evans. Jake Evans got a contract extension, and I think it's real funny because if they were trying to sell us on that he was the answer for second line center, well, he sure as heck did not get a second line center contract. 4 years, $2.85 million, which I would take in a heartbeat, but that's not second line money, and that's a guy who kind of glad that that's not the big swing they went for. Another guy that I think it was Darren Dreger was saying, Scott Laughton. Scott Laughton, we talked about Scott Laughton a lot on Saturday, but with Scott Laughton, the price has seemingly gone up with Jake Evans off the market. I don't know if Trent Frederick is a centerman. I think he's mostly winger, but with Scott Laughton seeming to be one of the only centermen, the price is really going up. It's just basic supply on demand, and I think Darren Dreger said that there's 8 teams really in on Scott Laughton, and the price is up to a first. Is Scott Laughton worth a first? I don't think so, but maybe he is because he has 2 years left. But I just think that if you're going for Scott Laughton, you need to be like they should know if Adam Lowry can play second line center, but they don't because they don't do it. And then Yanni Gourde. Yanni Gourde is playing tonight after a few months off because of an injury. I think that's a really interesting guy. Stanley Cup champion 2 times, and he has shown upside for scoring. And maybe he's not a second line center, but maybe he's the type of guy who can be a second line center in the correct role. So I think it'd be really interesting to see that as maybe a cheaper option. One advantage that the Winnipeg Jets have over other teams when acquiring Yanni Gourde is Yanni Gourde makes $5.6 million, I think, and they don't need them to retain on that salary. So that is something that I think it would be nice for them to implore. All right, and with that, let's look of the trades of yesteryear. So with the Winnipeg Jets, last year they made 3 trades at the trade deadline, and let's review some of them, shall we? All right, so the first one, that's so small. I want it over here, actually. Okay, first one is, there we go. The first one is the Sean Monahan trade. It was Sean Monahan who made 1.95. You always forget about that. He was a pretty cheap player at one point, basically $2 million. And it was for a first and a conditional third. The third, I believe, dropped back to a fourth because the Winnipeg Jets it was a conditional third, which would only come to be if the Winnipeg Jets made the final. They didn't, so it was just straight for a first. I think Sean Monahan last year, they made the trade early. I think it was a pretty good trade. You know, getting a second line center, $2 million. And I think he really fit what they wanted. They wanted to get a guy on the power play who could tip the puck, win a faceoff as a left-handed player, and had a nice shot from the inner slot. And Sean Monahan was all of those things. And I think the one thing about Sean Monahan at the time is that Sean Monahan is not a guy who's the most fleet of foot. And one thing they noticed right away is that him and Perfetti weren't the best mix because both of them weren't very fast and had a trouble playing with Nikolai Ehlers. I might as well just go back to this side because I put all these things over here. Next one. So I think that was a pretty good trade. Should we grade it? Let's give it a B+. B+ for fit. Really good fit. Price wasn't too bad. A first-round pick for that type of player. But can't give it an A. They didn't keep him and they didn't win anything. But I think it was a really nice fit for them. The next one, Tyler Toffoli. This one's small too. Who did this? It was me. Okay, Tyler Toffoli. They trade for Tyler Toffoli right on deadline day. And they traded a second and a third for this man. And I think Tyler Toffoli is a really good player. I think that he did. Tyler Toffoli's lack of fit here. Oh, here we go. Brendan, I was checking out the site and booked market. I didn't even realize you guys do all the post-game shows for all the Canadian teams. Yeah, we have a show for every single market. Our biggest one's Montreal. The founder here, Andrew, is someone who's been writing for the Montreal Canadiens for a while. We have people from all across the country doing these shows after every Canadian NHL game. So it's really cool to check out. And then if we have like a game that has 2 Canadian teams in it, it's really nice because we have like crossover episodes. So someone will come on if it's a home Jets game. Someone will come on with me and we will talk about the game together, and vice versa. If the Jets are on the road, then I'll go on their channel and we'll do it together too. It's pretty cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for the interest, Terry. Really appreciate it. And then with Tyler Toffoli, I just really think what really troubled them was the skating. I think that going after Sean Monahan, having Cole Perfetti, having Gabe Vilardi, and then having Tyler Toffoli on the team, all guys who aren't the best skaters, it just created a mix that wasn't great. He got bumped to the 3rd line, sometimes on the 4th line, and just a guy who didn't quite fit. And I don't think it's a problem for him. But I still think the trade, just in terms of value, is pretty good. Again, they didn't win anything. I don't think it was too much of an overpayment. I just think it was a lesson learned about fit and certain skills and what you need to have when acquiring a player. So I think I'd give that probably a C-, I'd say. And then we have the last one. We have Miller. Miller is a guy who I didn't think would be back. And they traded a 4th-round pick for Colin Miller. And then they re-signed Colin Miller. He got a pay downgrade. He's making 1.5 right now as opposed to 1.85 when they acquired him. And I think with Colin Miller, came in, I think he stabilized the defense when he came, but then they wouldn't play him. Sometimes they still don't play him. And then they got him signed to an extension for 1.5 for 2 years. I really don't know why he stayed, but I think they're able to keep him. I wish they would kind of play him some more. I think it's very, very fair value. Again, didn't win much. So I think I would give the Colin Miller trade, if they played him more, I would give it a higher score, but I'm going to give it a C+. I think that's fair. So that's pretty good, C, C+, C+, C-, and a B+. Like, you come home with that and your mom's got to be pretty happy about your report card. All right, so let's get down to the overtime period. This is the part of the show where you can ask me any sort of questions you would like, anything about hockey, non-hockey related things, anything you would like, and we will get there in just a moment. So start typing your questions away. And what better way to support something you love than by repping it on yourself? Game Over Winnipeg's apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. Whether you feel the nostalgic pull of our retro scare design, want to make a statement with our established design, or you want to wear your love for goalies proudly with our live and die by the goalie design, or if you just need another coffee and toque to get you through the winter, we have you covered. Designed by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. Use the QR code on stream now and take a look through our apparel store and help us rebuild local sports media in Canada while repping your community. So we'll see if we have any questions here. Not too busy tonight, but if not, we will just be on our merry way. Nice weather in Winnipeg lately. It's getting pretty warm. We're getting that like really slushy type season. Not the greatest, but at least we're wearing the light jackets these days. Gotta love that. All right, it seems like we don't have any questions. If one pops up while I'm speaking, we'll just jump to it. But our next show will be on Thursday. The Winnipeg Jets are taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. That's a 6 o'clock start time. The next show will be at 8. So our show will be about at 8:45, which is a nice little time to have a show. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed the show. Make sure to click subscribe to help support the Game Over Network and our channel. And thank you so much for watching Game Over Winnipeg. I will see you guys around. Good night.